Well, the invasion at the U.S. southern border continues, and the mainstream media is totally ignoring this story as if it doesn't exist. I think if they think that they ignore it, the story will go away. Brooklyn schools, though, are now getting ready, lining up, putting cots inside the school gymnasium, getting ready for an influx of illegal migrants so they can be sleeping on the gymnasium floor. So they're taking the story seriously. They know what's coming. And we are also seeing overnight thousands of illegal immigrants coming across the southern border. Michael Yon is a former Green Beret. He's a combat correspondent. He's been down covering the southern border crisis for over a week now, and even longer down, of course, in Panama at the Darien Gap. And Michael is joining us now. He's been up all night. He's been in Yuma, Arizona at the border all night, just got back to the hotel, and he was kind enough to jump on here before he's going to hopefully get some rest. Michael, before you do that, though, Michael, what did you see overnight? Some videos that you sent me, people just pouring right through the wall, just coming right in. They're just being handed water bottles and other supplies as they come right in, walk right through the wall.
They are. You know what? Let's actually start at Darien Gap because then people have context. Some Darien Gap, of course, is that area between Panama and Colombia, they call it the Gap because there's no road for about 60 miles of jungle. And so huge numbers of people are coming through there. At this point, I got word about I am tired. About, let's say 60 hours ago, that about 5,000 people are starting out from Colombia in one day now, which is probably 2 to 3 times number that we've ever seen before. A good 2.5, actually. So, and I saw this coming. I've been saying it the last time we were on together. I think I mentioned this, that flash to bang. I think we're going to see a flood in Darien, and look, it's actually happening. And so,
and those
now
people will
about
hit America. So that's the beginning point, or one of the beginning points, and that's about to hit our border.
Sure. They'll be up. Many of them will be in the United States within 2 weeks. Now, about 4 days ago, about 160 were killed in the Darien Gap. They were, we talked before about flash floods. They will tend to sleep beside those rivers because it is triple canopy jungle. It's quite rough out there. So the only kind of halfway decent place to sleep for a city slicker that doesn't know about flash floods and rainforest is by the riverbank. And so those bodies get washed down the river, wrapped in their tents. Often the ones who are quick enough will cut their way out of their tents. This happens year after year. Some think about it, they cut themselves out. Others don't, and they go down river. And so about 160, about 4 days ago, I would say.
Yeah, I saw the videos, and they're awful, awful videos. Just bodies laying all throughout the rivers, people stumbling across these bodies. That's what's happening. I mean, that's what's happening in Panama. So now in the United States, you're in Yuma, Arizona. You've been at the border all night. What are you seeing now from that flood of migrants coming up? What are you seeing overnight and over the past few days? You were in Texas at that border. Now you've moved to Yuma, Arizona.
Right. I did Texas border again, and then New Mexico. And actually, just maybe 48 hours ago or so, we were right on the border wall, and a bunch of people were crossing in broad daylight. And one guy had a rifle, actually, very close to us on the Mexican side, but he was right next to the border. It looked like an M16 or an AR-15, but it was like, yeah. So we told some border patrol just about a minute or so down the road, and they're like, oh, no, they point rifles at us all the time. Okay, and you allow that to happen? I mean, wow. They were pelting us with rocks at the same location the night before. I mean, big rocks. We almost got hit. This is New Mexico. The Border Patrol had just detained a few people and were searching them and that sort of thing. Had them sitting on the ground. One was standing up getting searched, and boom, rocks started coming over. Almost hit Anthony Rubin, who was with us, and just very close. And Border Patrol taking cover behind their vehicles and pushing the detainees very quickly into the van and rushing off. I took cover behind the Border Patrol van, actually. So bottom line is, what I'm saying is it's kind of dynamic here. And so then we headed off from New Mexico over to Yuma, where we are now. So we just did 2 nights on Yuma on the border, and I literally just got in. and the sun is rising now. And now we've seen people from a lot of Chinese, a lot of, well, here's one thing that's quite interesting. The buses show up before the aliens come, and they just magically have the right number of buses for the number of aliens. Kind of interesting, isn't it? The aliens seem to come out in packs of 20, or actually 40, but they'll come in, and the Border Patrol will, the first 20 come, the next 20 come, and then those will go on one bus, and then another group. They've got it worked out. We saw Todd Bensman, a friend of mine, he works for Center for Immigration Studies. He published an article maybe 2 weeks ago about 10 days ago, that the U.S. Government is openly in collusion with the Mexicans on, the controlled flow. And actually, the United States brokered a pact between Costa Rica and Panama called controlled flow. And that controlled flow speeds things through and makes things go more smoothly by making the flow smooth. So you don't have these big bottlenecks that, gunk things up. And so you can see the flow is quite controlled. So we know where they're staying across the border and what hotels. Here's an interesting thing as well, that many of the people, now some of the people I talk with here in Yuma have just come through Darien Gap, but most of them have gone, like this a group of 3, I think it was, like night before last. They just come in from Uzbekistan. I was talking with an 18-year-old Uzbek. His English was pretty good, and he said that he paid $10,000. He went to Turkey first, and from Turkey he went to Mexico City. In Mexico City, he went to Tijuana, flying, right? And then he showed up here, which is strange. Why did he go to Tijuana to show up here? You would think he would cross over in California. We have some ideas, but I think it has to do with the border that California was shut down temporarily. That's all. It was kind of hampered getting through. Many people, certainly most people, actually are bypassing the Darien Gap. And although the Darien Gap, I think, is going to end up being just amazingly problematic. It already is. But many are flying to Cancun, especially if they've got more money. And so many of the Chinese are flying to Cancun. That's where they meet their snakeheads. And the Chinese call what we call coyotes, the guides, the Chinese call them snakeheads. So they'll meet their snakeheads in Cancun or Mexico City. Some of them meet them in Tapachula, Mexico. But if they got money, they'll bypass all of, Darien Gap and all that and go straight to Cancun for a vacation and then come over. I do see some Chinese who come in who kind of look more like farmhands, but not many. Mostly they seem quite more sophisticated. For instance, if you look at the videos that I shot about maybe 3 hours or 4 hours ago on the border, the Chinese there, very well dressed, very clean. They're not carrying any bags whatsoever. No bags, except for pocketbooks for the few women that came. That's it.
That's strange.
Pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah.
And so go ahead, sir.
No, I was going to say, I've seen some of these videos, and we're showing them here so people can see some of this. And of course, families, also Chinese families coming across. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance in the United States. People saying, this story about the Chinese coming across the border is not true. That's just, it's xenophobia. That's just, that's a lot of fake news. Of course, that's what people are saying. But you're reporting it on a regular basis and posting these videos. You can watch and follow Michael's Twitter as these people come right across the border.
Oh, it's straight up real. Interestingly, now, although the Chinese they take somewhat different routes. Even if they go through Darien, they have a special route for Chinese, which is much easier. For instance, their women don't get raped. They don't get attacked. Nobody gets robbed, the Chinese, because they pay a lot up front. And so the Kuna Indians and the Embera and the Hunan, they don't want to see, those are different Indian groups, they don't want to see the Chinese get hurt because the Chinese pay them a lot of money up front. So they'll actually show up with horses and bring their bags through the Darien Gap and that sort of thing, and carry their children if they need to be carried. So they get VIP service in the jungle. They'll get through the jungle in about 2 days safely. I don't hear about any Chinese getting killed or robbed. Hold on, caveat. Some of the Chinese who actually don't pay the extra money, they go the third class route and they will get robbed. But that would be the route where so many people just drown, the hard route, which can take 6 days, not the 2 day route, and it's much more difficult and dangerous. Witness the people who just drowned, and that will continue. That anyway.
I'll get you out of here on this, Michael, which is you last night were filming as these individuals are coming across the border. They're just being handed water bottles as they walk right across. Here's water for you. Here's water for you. Here's water for you. And then also you sent me separately photos of debit cards that these migrants are being given as well. So these debit cards that are filled with, I don't know how much money that they're being given as they come across the border as well. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, they've been doing those debit cards for years, and in fact, I've given quite a few to congressmen and that sort of thing. Actually, I had a conversation with 10 congressmen 2 days ago, right? And from this chair, they wanted to talk about the gap, and they want to go back into the Darien Gap. And I had sent a bunch of those. No, I brought them. And I remember I brought it into some of their offices, and they. So that was 2.5 years ago, right?
Who's issuing these debit cards? Do you know?
Well, the debit cards that I gave to the congressman were from IOM or OIM, depending on the language. So that the IOM or OIM is like the main migration pump for the UN, right? And I mean, they're huge. They're like the big tent for all these little tents underneath, like Doctors Without Borders, which is quite big itself, Red Cross, but OIM, keeps all these people like Norwegian Refugee Council, highest Catholic Charities. Oh gosh, so many. Somebody asked me the other day how many NGOs are involved, and I'm like, good Lord, give me an abacus, because I don't even know. Because everywhere I go,
how does the UN even keep track of all of these things? So the UN is the issuing body of this. So these really it's coming from the United Nations, handing these debit cards out, and then they can use them when they're in the United States. Do we know how much money's on these things?
No, because it changes. And so I'll ask, and in fact, I've got, like I said, that Cody going out there today collecting a bunch of them. Just as we left this morning, as the sun was coming up, I said, collect all those things, and we're going to research these things again, because it's been a couple of years since I researched hard on the debit cards. But it changes too. So in other words, I could tell you something today, and then next week you'll say, no, it's actually $800, or
right.
But because it's just always changing.
So have you, in the past week or so since you've been at the border, like I said, I said I was going to get you out of here on the last question, the debit cards. I'll get you out of here on this question so you can get some rest, Michael.
I love being on your show. Let's keep going.
Which is about the numbers. We've seen, Mayorkas was on all the Sunday shows saying that the number of migrants pouring across the border has been cut in half, 50%. Cut in the number of people coming across the border. So we should all just pack up and forget about this story then, I guess. Are you seeing those numbers drop dramatically, or are they staying relatively the same? What are you seeing with your own eyes?
Keeping in mind, he always spews nonsense. He said he was closing the Darien Gap. There's more people going through it at this moment than ever have in history. And that number is clearly increasing. We have people in Nicocley, Colombia watching the inputs, and we have people. I mean, you can't do anything in Darien Gap without me knowing about it. It's clearly increasing, right? I mean, I know people in all the key villages and the government and whatnot. So every day I'm getting reports. It's definitely increasing. So what about this flow after the Title 42, right? It has decreased apparently, but it's not. When I say apparently, I mean on its face. But what we do know is the inputs continue to increase more than they ever have. I've been warning that what is happening now is the tip of the iceberg compared to what's coming. The invasion, and it's a clear invasion, is going to be far worse because we can see the inputs. So the flash to bang, I'm seeing the flash because I've got people down there, right? And the bang will be in a couple of weeks. But the bottom line is also, when you're trying to spot trends, let's say, imagine a man walking upstairs with a yo-yo. You don't pay attention to the yo-yo. That's not your trend. The trend is the man walking up or down the stairs, right? And the man is walking very steeply up the stairs at this point. These last about 6 days or so is just the yo-yo, right? That's all it is. But we can clearly see that it's going to burst more than it ever has. Mark my word, I'm staking my reputation on it. But I'm kind of cheating because I know the inputs, because I have people in all these places.
and you're seeing the thousands of people in the Darien Gap and these other places already, and you know where this winds up in the next few weeks.
It's clear.
Yeah,
it's coming, and we're building more camps, and we're increasing the size of some camps.
Well, and these
so
schools,
we know,
just showed
so
you
our
at the
government
top.
knows it's coming.
Yeah, we just showed you at the top here. I mean, New York City, Brooklyn schools preparing, getting their gymnasiums ready for this influx, and the buses continue, and the buses are increasing as well. We've heard from different reports as well. So, yeah, we'll keep our eye on it. We'll watch it, and we'll see. We'll see in the next few weeks who's right. If Mayorkas is right, and there's been a massive decline, and we won't have to worry about this anymore. Michael,
I hope he's right, but unfortunately, it's clear that he's not. But we'll wait. I mean, we have to.
we have to
watch
wait and see
how this actually plays out.
Yeah. Michael, we'll let you get some rest. We know you've been up at the border all night. We thank you for popping in here. I know it's like lunchtime there now, so you get to go to sleep at lunchtime in Arizona.
No, it's only 8 a.m.
Oh, good.
Well, I left when the sun was coming up. The day before I left when the sun came up, as I did today.
Oh, good. Well, Michael, we'll let you get some rest, and thank you so much for joining us after you ran out to the border all night. We really appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us here on Redacted.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.